Yes, comrades and friends, welcome to the program Global Weekly News, serial number 161. First, 252 Venezuelans detained by United States in El Salvador released. Donald Trump is actively implementing deportation of undocumented migrants 2 crore to countries of their origin. U.S. has imposed sanctions on Venezuela, not succumbing to the pressures of U.S. 252 Venezuelan nationals deported by the U.S. and detained for months in another country, El Salvador, Central America, high security terrorism confinement center, arrived back in their homeland, Venezuela, after a successful negotiation by the Nicolas Maduro government. Following months-long campaign demanding the release, the Venezuelan men arrived on 18th July at the Simon Bolivar International Airport in the Guaida, Venezuela, in La Guaida Airport, Venezuela, on board 2 separate flights. Venezuela exchanged in return for 10 U.S. citizens and permanent residents in Venezuelan custody. Second item, comrades. U.S. deportation of migrants to Swaziland in Africa. King Swati III, the last absolute monarch in Africa, who survived an insurrection by using the army against the pro-democracy movement, has further weakened his position by caving to the U.S. pressure to accept its deportees. The move by U.S. administration to deport 5 convicted foreign nationals to Swaziland had provoked domestic outrage against its ruler, further undermining the legitimacy of King Swati III. The largest opposition party, People's United Democratic Movement, PUDIMO, condemned the monarchy's decision to let the U.S. deport its most dangerous criminals on Swazi soil as treacherous in a statement on 15th July. The 5 deportees convicted of violent crimes, including murder and rape, child rape, were so uniquely barbaric that their home countries in Asia and Latin America refused to take them back. Yet Swati, acting as a merchant of our nation's dignity, has opened our doors to them for his personal financial gain, treating the country which he had renamed as Swatini, not Swaziland, Swatini, as his personal property, to be sold off to the highest bidder. PUDIMO added, our already overcrowded and under-resourced prisons are filled with political prisoners who are unjustly jailed for demanding democracy in Africa's last absolute monarchy. The ban on political parties imposed in 1873 by Swati's father remains in place to date. Nevertheless, despite a lack of democratic rights, a violent pro-democracy movement has long thrived in the country, with banned political parties, trade unions and student unions forming its backbone. Countrywide protests took place in mid-2021. State violence used to repress it provoked an insurrection amid which the monarch had fled the country, returning only after his army had put down the rebellion by killing over 70 people and arresting hundreds. Third item, Durham Miners Gala 2025. கொஞ்சம் அப்புறம் போட்டுக்கலாமா? ஹலோ பைத்தியக்காரனா? Since 1871, the Durgam Miners Gala has celebrated community, international solidarity and working class life, a living movement demanding a better future for all. In this year's edition, over 2 lakh trade unionists and workers gathered and denounced the rightward turn of the Labour Party and its role in suppressing progressives and the movement for Palestine. Durgam Miners Gala was celebrated every year on second Saturday of July. In 1871, Durgam miners succeeded in preventing child labor in the mines. The mines are long gone, the pits are long gone, but they are very proud of their heritage and have kept that alive through the bands and the banners. It is the biggest trade union event in Europe. Usually 2 lakh people coming here from all over the world as well. And also it is a great opportunity to show international solidarity. It's a kind of mixture of heritage and modern issues as well, such as Palestine. The movement desires that all people get what they deserve: health, education and welfare. The Miners' Gala is one of the biggest labor movement celebrations in the United Kingdom and possibly in Europe, all from different walks of life, maybe all different political viewpoints. But at the end of the day, we put people together to fight as a working class to protect living standards, services, the right to a dignified life. This gala used to be very closely associated with the Labour Party. But this year, 139th gala means the grand celebration. No Labour Party speakers on that platform, and there is no Labour Party stall on the field. The Labour Party has abandoned the working people, and it now works for big lobbyists, American corporations buying nuclear jets while cutting the independence payments to disabled people. The UK government is lurching towards the right, the opportunistic government. The government acts as per dictates of international finance capital. In 2022, the then Prime Minister Truss placed a mini budget cutting taxes for the super rich. This caused financial crisis and Truss had to resign. Similarly, the present government is facing crisis. Fascists are growing. Therefore, the international working class has to carry forward united struggles to protect them from the fascists. Fourth item, comrades. Socialist Party of Malaysia demands Trump invitation be cancelled, withdrawn. Trump was invited by Anwar Ibrahim, Malaysian Prime Minister, through US Secretary of State Marco Rubio on 10th July. Trump was also invited to join the ASEAN-US Summit in October. The Socialist Party of Malaysia, PSM, condemned Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim for inviting US President Donald Trump to Malaysia, calling it a betrayal to the Palestinian people who have faced the US-backed Israeli genocide in Gaza for almost 2 years now. The statement on 15th July claims that Trump's invitation undermines all efforts by the government and the Malaysian people to express solidarity with Palestine. PSM, Socialist Party of Malaysia, claimed that the Israeli massacres of Palestinians in Gaza would not have been possible without the active support of the US, both in terms of political backing and military supplies. And therefore, Malaysia must not play host to the genocide enabler. There shall be no business as usual with the US administration until the world has put an end to the genocide against the Palestinian people, PSM demanded. Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has been vocal against Israeli war crimes against the Palestinians in Gaza and even demanded Israelis' expulsion from the United Nations. Malaysia has officially supported South Africa's genocide case against Israel in the International Court of Justice. Malaysia is also a member of the Hague Group, which has hosted a summit in Bogota, Colombia on July 15 to 16, seeking an urgent end to the Israeli genocide of Palestinians in Gaza. Socialist Party of Malaysia issued a statement. We urge the government of Malaysia to retract the invitation to Donald Trump to visit Malaysia. We also called upon the government of Malaysia as the chair of ASEAN this year to cancel the ASEAN-US summit as a symbolic protest against US complicity in the genocide against Palestinian people. Fifth item, comrades. Philippines citizens in the United States denounce Marcos White House visit. Philippines diaspora activists staged protests outside of the White House each day of Philippines President Marcos Jr. visit with US President Trump. Marcos Jr. arrived in Washington, D.C. on July 20. On the final day of Marcos' visit, Marcos Jr. is the President of Malaysia. Philippines. Marcos Jr. is the President of Philippines. He arrived in Washington, D.C. on July 20. On the final day of Marcos' visit on July 22, Trump announced a framework agreement setting tariffs on Philippines exports to the U.S. at 19%, which is a reduction from the 20% tariffs Trump had originally threatened, while U.S. goods would enter the Philippines tariff-free. As long as the Philippines economy remains based on U.S. economic and geopolitical as long as Philippines economy remains based on meeting U.S. economic and geopolitical interests and not on the long-term economic security of the Philippines people, millions of more and more our people will continue to be forced to migrate abroad to risk working undocumented just to feed their families, said Andon Bonifacio, chair of Bayan USA, the U.S. chapter of Philippines National Democratic Movement Organization, Bayan. He also said, Marcos, stand up for our economy and stand up for our people. Activists also denounced Trump's big beautiful bill for including a 1% excise tax on cash remittances sent abroad. In 2024 alone, overseas Philippines workers sent a record-breaking $3,430 crore back to the Philippines. Sixth item, comrades. China-US trade. In the first 6 months of 2025, China exported to US $21,700 crore worth of goods and imported one-third, $7,400 crore worth of goods. Trump imposed 145% tariffs on Chinese goods. After rounds of negotiations in May, mutual tariffs were reduced to 10%. However, Trump later stated that total tariffs for China would remain at 55%, comprising 20% from the fentanyl issue. The U.S. blames China for the entry of substances used in opioid production into U.S. territory, another 25% from previous tariffs. The China-U.S. trade surplus in the first half of this year, in fact, represents a decrease compared to the same period in 2024 when the trade surplus was $16,000 crore. So, from $16,000 crore, the trade surplus is reduced to somewhere around 14,000, something like that. Trade resumed growth in June after the easing of both control over rare earth exports to US and the ban on semiconductor sales to China, resulting from negotiations between the two governments in London. Trade between the two countries in the first half of 2025 declined. Chinese imports from United States fell by 7.7% and China's exports to US plunged by 9.9%. This reduction with the US was to some extent compensated by China's two main trading partners, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, and the European Union. ASEAN was founded in Thailand on 8 August 1967. Its head office is in Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia. There are 10 country members in ASEAN: Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, East Timor. India is a South Asian country, not a member of ASEAN. But India conducts discussions with the ASEAN and cooperates. In the first 6 months of this year, ASEAN accounted for 16.8% of China's total foreign trade. In the case of the European Union, representing 12.9% of the total China's overall trade with the 9% of the total. China's overall trade with the BRICS also increased. Domestic demand was the main driver of growth in China. The Chinese government continued with a strategy launched in 2024 to promote consumption. The government allocated $1,130 crore for this campaign. The program offers subsidies of up to 20% for people to exchange home appliances, vehicles, and other products for new, more energy efficient models. 40 crore Chinese participants benefited from subsidies and various incentives. The exchange program generated about $40,700 crore in sales revenue from January to June this year. Comrades and friends, the seventh item, the People's Summit for Korea. From July 25 to 26, hundreds of activists will gather in the Riverside Church in New York City to attend the People's Summit for Korea, convening for plenums, panels, and workshops relating to Korean liberation and the broader anti-imperialist struggle. On 27th July, Korean and US organizations will hold a march in Times Square of New York, marking 72 years since the Korean War. Korean War armistice. Armistice means interim truce, interim ceasefire, and demanding an end to US military and economic domination of Korea. There has been a qualitative escalation in US aggression on Korea since the breakdown of the original Trump-Kim dialogue. Under Joe Biden, there was a marked increase in US aggression, primarily in the form of joint military exercises with South Korea and the formation of the JACUS. Japan, then what? South Korea and Japan, Korea and US. Trilateral Alliance, JACUS. In 2024, there were 275 days of US war exercises on the peninsula. At the end of 2023, North Korea made the watershed decision to send its strategy of peaceful reunification, which had defined the inter-Korean relationship for the past 50 years prior. South Korea has been acting as a completely colonial entity acting at the behest of Washington and not in the interest of its own people. There was a plot to essentially restart the Korean War. At the end of last year, South Korean president tried to declare a martial law. He lost his power due to impeachment by the parliament. South Korea has built itself up through an export-driven model of capitalism that has been historically highly dependent on the U.S. market as a source of dollars and of revenues. Major financial institutions from the IMF to the World Bank are estimating that GDP growth will probably be less than 1%. The Trump administration is seeking even more special benefits for U.S. corporations. They want even more of the agricultural market opened up to U.S. agribusiness. They already did this with the 2007 Free Trade Agreement and absolutely decimated the agricultural sector in South Korea. The levels of debt that farmers were in skyrocketed. Trump wants South Korea to pay $1,000 crore a year directly to the U.S. for the military occupation of the South Korea. South Korea is facing pressure to increase the defense spending to 5% of its GDP, which is the same amount that is being imposed on NATO countries as well. That would bring South Korean defense budget from something like $4,800 crore to about $8,600 crore. So defense budget will go up. The commander of the U.S. forces, Korea, very recently described how it is the U.S. closest to frontline military position to China and North Korea. The People's Summit for Korea will discuss on Korean unity, anti-imperialist struggle and international solidarity. Lastly, comrades, we go to South Africa. South Africa's largest grassroots movements of SAC dollars, hot dollars, took a powerful demonstration last week in solidarity with the Socio-Economic Rights Institute of South Africa, SERI, following an aggressive march by the far-right anti-migrant group Operation Dudula and the legal aid group's officers. Dudula means expel the migrants. Operation Dudula. On 17th July, Operation Dudula and its affiliates marched to the offices of SERI. SERI means Socio-Economic Rights Institute, the South African Human Rights Commission, to deliver memorandums. Instead of handing over their memorandums, members of Operation Dudula allegedly tried to storm the building, issued threats, pepper sprayed an individual, and threw stones and bottles, forcing police to intervene. Right-wing forces around the world are accusing migrants for the devastation caused by capitalism and corruption. The SAC dollars, the hot dollars movement also highlighted the far-right political parties in parliament that are actively trying to build more support via xenophobia, warning that if left unopposed, there is a risk of fascist politics becoming stronger. Thank you, Comrade Assalam.